Stanford University put 112 researchers on California's public school system for 18 months. They ran an AI analysis across 7,000 district planning documents, and the finding, only 7.9% of local goals had a measurable target attached to them. 92% of the goals in California's school system are just words, no target, no way to know if anyone hit them. If that number sounds like an education story and phenomenon, it's not. I've seen this exact pattern inside Fortune 1000 companies for over 20 years. Different language maybe, same mechanism. Stanford called their study Getting Down to Facts. Administrators are spending nearly 20 hours a week on compliance paperwork. 2 out of 3 districts have gone through a superintendent change since 2019. Nobody's staying long enough to own the outcome, and the goals nobody's measuring aren't going anywhere either. Here's the pattern underneath it. You give people responsibility, then you don't give them clear guidance, decision-making authority, or the capability to actually deliver. It's not a school problem. That's an organizational design problem, and it shows up in 3 places typically. First, alignment. Who owns the outcome? Stanford found California splits oversight of struggling schools across the state education department and separate assistant agencies. Nobody's in charge. McKinsey surveyed over 10,000 executives this year and found that 2/3 admit their own companies are too complex to execute. Boston Consulting Group found the instinct when that happens is to add another committee, more bureaucracy. 74% of leaders admit that response just deepens the bureaucracy. So it's a problem not just in education, in business. When responsibility touches 5 owners, for example, it really belongs to none of them. Second, you need to find balance. Does autonomy come with guidance, or does it just come with abandonment? In 2012, California gave districts more control over their spending. The state approved 38 different math test books and then left teachers to figure out which one worked. That's really not empowerment. That's overwhelm, wearing a costume of trust. Starbucks hit that identical wall in 2025 when their CEO found thousands of stores running their own version of the Starbucks way with no shared standard anywhere. He cut the metrics used to grade a store from a dozen down to just 5. Consistency then came back the moment headquarters shared the baseline. Autonomy without a floor, so to speak, isn't freedom. It's just noise with a good reputation. You have to provide autonomy with baseline floor metrics in terms of expectations and alignment. Third, capacity. Even when you get ownership and guardrails right, none of it works if the people don't have the skills to execute. In low-income California districts, for example, roughly 3 in 10 math teachers don't even hold the full credential. And 1 in 5 districts offered no consistent math training last year. You can fix the org chart, but then it'll still fail if nobody's built to run it. Here's what I'd encourage you to do this week. First, map the real owner. Take your most contested decisions, the ones that keep coming up that cause friction and where there's ambiguity, and write down who actually has the final say on each one. Not who's supposed to, who actually does. Second, set the floor first. Before you hand a team more autonomy, define the minimum standard everyone has to meet. The floor comes before the freedom. Third, clear the invisible friction. Ask your team one question. What rule or process would you delete if you could? Then go delete the worst offenders. And then identify your skill success factors. Figure out which skills the new model really requires and give people real time and real space to develop them. It may not just be a webinar, actual development. Pull up the last 3 decisions then that got stuck between departments in your organization. Ask yourself who actually owned each one. If the honest answer is it depends or a few people, you've really found your version of California's coherence gap. Decide this week whether you're going to fix the decision rights or just redraw the org chart again and again, because only one of those actually works. That's the reframe, so you can leapfrog the headlines, your leadership, and your business. Subscribe so you don't miss the next one, and find me at sorenkaplan.com.